Hello, my friends. Come in, sit down, take a breath. My name is Miss Carol, and I am a former career teacher here sharing everything that I have learned about healing and growth, deepening our consciousness to create more love and more meaningful relationships in our everyday lives. And today's video is no different. And it really makes me laugh because it is completely ironic. Self-betrayal. The irony of life really does tickle me. It really does make me feel humble, and I just love it, all the contradictions in life. So self-betrayal. But before I talk about self-betrayal, I want to talk about something specific, the hippocampus in our brain. And it is a temporal lobe located behind our ears. It is 20% of our brain. And the hippocampus is crucial for memory learning, and specifically it produces about 1,500 new neurons daily, which translate to a renewal of about 80% over our lifetime. So the hippocampus is functioning for memory formation, spatial navigation, learning, and emotion. And I wanted to start here with the hippocampus because we've all heard the saying, you can't teach a new dog, or excuse me, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, that is complete bullshit, because just right here, just with this little bit information about the hippocampus, is telling us that this is not true. You can't teach a new dog, or excuse me, an old dog who doesn't want to learn. That's what it probably should be adjusted to. But betrayal, self-betrayal, and how it makes you stronger. But what does it mean? So when we are here, we learn these habits and patterns of thought through our environment. And when we get to a point of adulthood where we realize that we, should probably make some changes in our life to cultivate more meaningful connections, it's crucial that we understand where we need to heal and how we can heal that, so that way we can have a plan of action, right? So you have to understand what's broken in order to understand how you're going to heal it. And broken meaning, not being bad, not that you're a bad person, but we are wounded. We are all suffering from collective and individual wounds of our familiar, generational past, wounds of our societal, trauma. And it doesn't mean that we are bad people. It just means that we have been subjected to a lower vibration, a lower consciousness for so many years that we are all subject to it. All of us. We cannot separate ourselves from our collective consciousness, which is why it's so important that we do the individual work, because we are a part of the collective. So self-betrayal means abandoning the versions of yourself that are no longer serving you. You are betraying yourself, right? You are putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation to adapt and to grow. But nobody wants that. Nobody wants to actively put themselves in discomfort, because it doesn't feel good. Nothing about that feels good, but it is necessary to heal and to grow and to deepen our consciousness. On I think it was my 31st or my 32nd birthday, somewhere around there, maybe 30th birthday, I went the whole day, and I have two older brothers and a younger sister, and I went the whole day, and I had not heard from my two older brothers all day, and it was probably around like 11 o'clock at night. And I called my mom, and I was crying, and I was just like, oh, my brother, they haven't called me. Oh, just, throwing a little fit. So anyway, about an hour, maybe 45 minutes after I got off the phone with my mom, surprise, surprise, my brothers call me and to wish me a happy birthday. But that wasn't, what struck me. What struck me was the next day. And I was so sad. I was so just like, you know, out of sorts because I was so emotional and sad. But the next day, I can clearly remember sitting in my room, lying on my bed, and then I just had this epiphany, this thought that came to me. And it was, what if this is just a story? What if this, you not being appreciated, you not feeling appreciated from your brothers is just a story? And it was like, it blew my fucking mind. And ever since then, I literally question every single time I am on an emotional loop, is this just a story I am creating? Am I being adaptable to new information? At the time, my brother had two young children. My older brother, he was working, I think, 3 jobs at the time. People have things going on in their life, and it's very selfish to think that they're going to center you based on whatever because it's your birthday. That's a very, selfish way of looking at things. And I had to adapt my thinking. I had to adapt my emotional and mental landscape because I could feel that these emotions, these strong emotions, were really holding me back. And that's what it's all about. It's about being adaptable, right? We have to make demands on ourselves that will cultivate our survival, that will cultivate our thriving. And these demands are mental, physical. I just got back from the gym. There are many times that I don't feel like going to the gym, but I make a demand of myself to do it. There are times when I want to just get, fast food, or I want to just get the quickest thing that I can get to eat, but I make a demand of myself. I'm like, no, I'm going to cook for myself. It's going to, 1, taste better. It's going to 2, last longer. And it's going to 3, be cheaper. So it's like a win, 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 right? But we have to make these demands of ourselves. And it is a form of self-betrayal because we have become accustomed to living our lives in a certain way. And when we take a stand, so to speak, and say, okay, I am going to stand in the strength of my decision today, you are betraying the person that you used to be. We are so obsessed with being right, with having our quote unquote way, that we really don't question whether or not being right is bringing about our happiness, is bringing about peace. And ultimately, we confuse being right with being valuable, being right with being worthy. And those two things are not the same at all. Your rightness and your worthiness are not the same. Just by the evidence of your existence, that is enough to convey that you are valuable, that you have worthiness, that you not only are valuable, but you are necessary to our collective consciousness. Just simply existing is enough. But we have to be more. We were born to be more. If that wasn't the case, we would come here, everybody would just be babies. We would just have a whole humanity of babies if we weren't meant to grow, right? We are so obsessed in our victimhood. Oh my gosh, I think about my birthday all these years ago, and I'm so embarrassed. I am embarrassed the way that I behaved because I was so like, oh, why me? Why don't they call me? And I'm not important to them. I was just so dramatic, and it was just, oh my God, it was not that deep at all. We are just so in our victimhood of why me? Why me? But why not you? Why not you? Again, we are a part of a collective consciousness. So when we are out in the world, we have to be aware that, people say, why do good things happen, or why do bad things happen to good people? It's because good, bad, depends on how you look at it. It's because we are part of a collective consciousness, and you can't escape that. So depending on where you are in your mind, where you are physically, you might be subject to certain things that you in your rational, logical life would never have chosen, like a pandemic. Nobody would have chosen that. I don't think anybody would have chosen to stay home for, it was like a year and a half, not doing anything but watching TV. Or I don't know what you did, but I watched a lot of TV, I smoked a lot of weed, and I ate a lot of cereal. Best time. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, we are part of a collective. So when these things happen, the more practiced that we are in our elevating and deepening our consciousness, the more prepared we will be for them. There's this wonderful story that Eckhart Tolle has told over the years, and I'm going to just give the gist of it because I can't remember it word for word. But basically, there was this monk who lived in these mountains, and this is in like the 13th century, and there was a war going on around the monastery, and all the other monks left. They went to low ground. They went to save themselves, because this war, it didn't matter which side you were on, they were on the path of this war was going to confront them. So anyway, every monk left the monastery except for one. So when the warriors eventually got there, they looked at him and they said, "Why are you still here? You know that we can kill you." And the monk looked at him and the warrior and said, "But I'm letting you, and I'm letting you do that." So I've always been struck by that story, because what is the deepest act of self-betrayal? It's murder. It's putting yourself in harm's way. Meaning, if it's my life or my nephew's or my life or my sister's, that's an act of self-betrayal. But that is for the collective, and hopefully we will never be in those kind of situations. That is just an extreme example of how self-betrayal ultimately makes us our best versions of ourselves, our most high and enlightened versions of ourselves. I made a video about embracing our dark side, and that's important. We have to embrace not just the things that we enjoy about ourselves, not just the times when we were good. We have to embrace our entire selves, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it. The more we can look at ourselves in a totality, the less attached we are to one particular thing, because we are looking at things in a whole spectrum. I wish you peace. I wish you understanding. I forgive you. If you are interested, check out this next video, and I will see you next time, my friends.